When you mention the word VW, there's only one thing that comes into your mind, and that is the VW Golf, because Golf has had a very powerful history. VWs are not known to have superb outlook. They're not cars that you'll say wow when you look at them. But that is about to change, because from 2017, VW as a manufacturer designed this
legacy. You gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me. You ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know. Better than the rest, just watch me.
Welcome to another special episode of Kanisa, and this is the VW Arteon 2017 to be specific. And this is just not any other Arteon. This is the R line, the one that has the most powerful engine, the same engine you'll actually find in the Golf R.
You still mess up, but I'm still gonna fight for what I love. Still gonna die for what I love. Still gonna try, I won't give up. Still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet.
It's at this point that I remind you guys to humbly please, come on, just subscribe, hit that subscription button, and remember to click on the bell icon so that all your notifications are set for any subsequent episodes that you're going to be uploading on this channel. And before I tell you how special this car is and why it's unique and different from the other trim, I'll remind you again, this review has been made possible by UNGARAGED. So follow them on Instagram, on any other platform that they have, and give them their support and business tool, because those are friends of Conversations. So let's get into it. The first glance when you look at the VW Arteon, it gives you the impression that a Lamborghini Urus must have made love to a VW CC, and the product of that is what you guys are looking at. Quite intimidating, quite aggressive, quite beautiful and attractive to any person that really want to look and buy this car. The front grille is big and sizable enough, again the signature of VW, but it flows into the design of the headlights, which are LED and quite bright at night. The front bumper is quite aggressive, just a reminder that this is an R line, an image to behold. When it comes to the side profile, because I really love the way this car looks, it's special in a way that is unique and different. The side profile, again, you have this nice curvy line that cuts across the entire side of the car to the rear. Na hapa iko na a very good hip. If this car was a Kenyan lady, probably she should be from the Western or Nyanza region, because there is a way that it curves backwards that just makes this car look beautiful and awesome. There's an R-line badge there to just remind you that it is an R-line. Then you have your chrome appendages again to just, add on to that subtle look that this car provides. So let's talk about the suspension that comes with this car. So this car is based on the Passat, and the Passat and this car share a platform, which is the MQB platform. So there are a few things that I feel we have a loss when it comes to this car in comparison to the Audi A5 Sportback. So one is the suspension setup. So at the front we have a conventional McPherson strut. At the rear we have a matte-link suspension, which doesn't make this car quite special when it comes to the driving dynamics. And these, I'm comparing it to the Audi A5 Sportback and maybe the BMW Grand Coupe. But away from that, this car is superb. And what makes it more superb and clean again are the 20-inch wheels that come as standard on the R line. You can also get it, I think, with 21 from other markets, but this one comes with 20 with matte black finish alloy rims that just add to the character of the VW Arteon. Oh my God. This is a car that definitely any day, anytime, if you love looks and you love awesome and beautiful stuff, this is a car that needs to be one in your to-do list. When you roll to the back of this car again, it reminds you of a VW Passat. But one thing that I love are simple, interesting things like this rear spoiler. Small, black, just looks very nice. Of course, the name Arteon. Some of you will call it Arteon. Whatever you choose to call it, it's all right. Arteon written there with a VW logo and 4Motion. So this guy is a 4-wheel drive. And I'll tell you about the 4-wheel drive system, because when it comes to this car, the 4-wheel drive system is different. So when you buy an Audi A5 Sportback, it has a Quattro all-wheel drive system. And I need you to know that the E8888, because we'll talk about the engine just in a moment, but I need to remind you that the E8888 in an Audi A5 Sportback is longitudinally mounted, meaning it's an inline, it's straight. it looks like this. So the gearbox is after the engine, but on this platform the E8888 is transversely mounted. Now the 4Motion, again, all-wheel drive system on this particular car it is front wheel biased, meaning it only kicks in the rear wheel when it feels it is lost traction at the front wheels. So that is one thing that you need to know about the 4-wheel drive system on all VWs, be it a Tiguan, a Touareg. That's where you get chrome appendages. Again, to just remind you again, it's an R line. In terms of practicality, this is a liftback, an electronic tailgate, but it has a humongous boot space. I think this is around 468 liters of boot space. You can hang your luggages here. Few things just to give you that humble practicality on the boot. You can put your luggages there. Then one thing that is also special about this car is it comes with provision for a spare wheel tire, but this one doesn't have a spare wheel tire. This one has a tire repair kit. But the good thing is there's a huge hole, so if you buy a spare wheel tire, I think it can comfortably fit in this car. And the only thing that maybe VW has made a good attempt to beat Mercedes-Benz is in the truthfulness of the exhaust tip. So this one, from far, it looks like a dual exhaust tip. So you have 1 and 2, but inside you actually have 2 tips. I don't know. Okay, they are real, they are small, but they make the work done. Before getting into the VW Arteon, of course, you're greeted by the frameless doors, just like the Audi A5 Sportback. The interior of the VW Arteon is nothing different from what you'll find in the VW Passat. VW has made it possible to have the design of the front grille being translated into the cabin space, and that can be shown by the air vents that cut across the entire dashboard. What is so special about the interior of the VW Arteon, away from the build quality that is made of high quality plastic material? You get leather, Napa leather bucket seats with an R badge. Just remind you that there's an R line, an 8-inch touchscreen and hand-sensitive infotainment system that is Android and Apple CarPlay enabled, a bright tachometer or instrument cluster that is quite interesting to look at. Of course, again, the R line badging still goes on. So my steering wheel, I have the R badging, and on these seats you have the R badging. And there's something going on with these seats. I know I've told you they're made of Napa leather, but there's a carbon filler that I've just put on this seat that makes it look a bit special. So let's talk about the infotainment system, because this is where I feel much has been done. So this infotainment system is touch sensitive. It's an 8-inch touch sensitive, but not only is it touch sensitive, but you can also do hand gestures. Like now, there we go. Ah, very nice. That's cool. Makes, the idea of owning this particular car a bit interesting. But there's something I need to share about the comparison between what you get in this car as a package in comparison to the Audi A5. The Audi A5, I think it's better built. The interior feels a bit, plush and expensive. That doesn't make this cheaper, because this is also based on a Passat. So everything you'll get in a Passat is ideally what you'll get here. But there are a few things I don't like. Like, one of them is this heads-up display. I think we used to have these in the early days of the heads-up display system. Right now, guys are projecting that to the windscreen, and I think that makes it much, much better. But again, this is what you have to work with, and there's nothing special we can talk about that. Let's talk about the storage compartment. So you have this huge glove compartment with the MMI system installed there. Again, Audi VW, thank you so much. They always put this thing here so that you just don't get to interact with it. You have 2 SD cards, so you can load your music and do everything there. The other storage compartment is this one, where you can put your stuff, and you have auxiliary and a USB port as well. Now, you are supposed to charge your phone here, which has wireless phone. The only problem is, I think you can only charge smaller phones, because mine cannot fit. So VW, please make sure that guys who have serious phones can also charge. I have another storage compartment on this end that I can put my receipts. But something that I like is the door cabin spaces. So a bottle like this fits in quite well. I think the bigger 500 or 1 liter bottle can also fit in quite well. So away from that, there's nothing special. Let me talk to you about the practicality of the rear, and let's see how it actually feels to sit at the rear. Do you get enough space as they have claimed? Because when we sat in the Audi A5, it was a bit not quite comfortable at the rear. But this car, when it loses a lot in terms of the build quality, the premiumness of the build quality, where it gains more against the Audi A5 and the BMW Grand Coupe, is the cabin space. So let's check out the rear. So VW claims that this car is marketed as a family, compact, luxury, mid-size sedan. And I will agree more to that. Because one, you get your nice ISOFIX points, which are very important when it comes to a family setup. You need ISOFIX because you're having kids. You really need to have this fitted in. But something else that is quite unique is the space. Again, I will remind you, I'm 6'2". I know you guys laugh about that, but okay, the truth is I'm 5'8". Okay, I'm 6'2". But 5'8", 6'2". If you'd be a tall guy, maybe if you might be 6'2", you will have a bit of a head notch. Let me assume you are this. If you move your head backwards, maybe you snatch. But if you're a guy who is normal average height, this car is quite comfortable. The leg room at the front is quite nice, and this seat is, pushed all the way back. So I think this is quite humble and spacious as well. You have your practical cup holders up and Billy. You have your heated seats, cooled and heated seats at the front, dual zone air climate. Come on, what else do you want from this car? I believe VW has done an awesome job in terms of just making this car an awesome package for a family setup. How does it feel to be the guy in the middle? This car being spacious and slightly wider than, the former car that it came to replace the VW CC, I feel it's okay. I can say it's okay, even though I will not encourage you to get a lift here. Of course, you have your tunnel here to make you a bit uncomfortable, but because of the space and the wideness of this car, even though you can have a person here and a person here, I think you can make it. For a thinner guy like me, I think I'm okay. Mbuka will struggle, but I will be. Powering up the VW Arteon is the famous, legendary EA888. And this, again, is the third generation of the EA888. Quite easy, quite smooth, and quite powerful. And talking about powers, this one puts out around 276 HP and 350 Newton meters of torque. It's the same engine you'll find in the Golf R. So this has been tuned for proper performance. And you guys are wondering, because of that power, how much fuel economy do you average on this particular car? So this particular car will give you anything between 13 to 14 kilometers to a liter. That is if you do, proper smooth driving. But if you put your feet down, I doubt if you'll get anything above 10 kilometers to a liter. Before I tell you what other engine option will you get on the VW Arteon, I'm still digging this floating hood. It just looks like eyelids on your headlights. Something special about the way this hood opens. Whereas we are used to opening the other hoods, this one opens kind of in a special way. So huku nyuma pia it lifts up. Just makes it easy and quite interesting to work on this particular car. So on this platform of the VW Arteon, that is from 2017 all the way to 2020, you get 3 petrol engines and 3 diesel engines. So the 3 petrol engines are 1.5 TSI. Then you have the 2 variants of the EA888. One that is putting out around 190 HP and the other one which is putting out 276 horsepower. And that is what is in this particular car. And when it comes to the diesel side, you also get 3 diesel engine options, again marked best with the power output. And finally, for those guys who are looking into going hybrid or electric, well, VW has made it possible to have a hybrid engine option, the EA211 1400cc, paired to a hybrid or an electric motor as well. So let's talk about the problems that you are likely to encounter when you buy this particular generation of the VW Arteon, especially the one that comes with the EA888. So this engine has a myriad of issues. One, this engine is chain driven. So again, over a period of time, within a specific mileage, the chains will stretch and you'll be required to replace them or change. I think this is something normal that guys with VW know and appreciate. And number 2, some plastic things going on. First, we have a plastic air intake over time with these tropics. And did you know that this particular engine has been produced for 2 different markets? So this one that is putting out 276 horsepower has been produced for hotter climates, that is Japan, Australia, and of course us here. But there is the same version of the engine, this particular one, that puts out around 300 HP, and that one has been designed for the colder climates. Maybe VW are trying to tell us something, that this car or this engine doesn't really like heat, and if you're pushing it in a hot region, then you need to detune and have a bit of low power. So plastic again, plastic intake, there are brittle plastic pipes that break down occasionally over a period of time, and if those ones go out, you are again in a mess. There are normal things when you talk about a VW you have to know. Those are like the water pump. Again, the water pump failure on this car is quite rampant. But I feel at least on this Gen 3 E8888 there has been a revision, so the water pump you get here is a bit stronger, so it will last you more kilometers. But if you take good care of this engine, that means you give it the right fluid, you use the right octane rating of fuel, and this one specifically uses V power, because that is the only octane rating that we have in Kenya that can run on this particular car. I also have to mention that is important because this car comes with 2 injection points. So you have the normal direct injection, then you have the port injection as well, and the port injection is clearly here to clean the carbon buildup. So good service, the right fuel, good service interval, I can guarantee that this engine will take you to anything between 250 to 300,000 kilometers without a problem. How does it feel to drive the VW Arteon, apart from the 7-speed DSG transmission that just makes this car shift like an awesome piece of machine? Of course, the E8888 makes it much more interesting, and the sounds quite well. Let's talk about what makes this car a bit not competitive in comparison to the A5 and the BMW 4 Grand Coupe. And that will be the suspension setup. One, this car has quite good epic ground clearance. In comparison to the Audi A5, this has solid and stellar ground clearance. I've gone over the bumps we've always done when we come here with other cars to review. And whereas I struggle a little bit with the Audi A5 Sportback, but with this one I've been clearing those bumps quite well. And that is thanks to the bigger wheel, okay? So the bigger wheel, size 20, but you can also get this car with size 21. And that makes this car stand out in terms of ground clearance. But that also provides a bit of a challenge, because with bigger wheels and bigger tires comes in a different set of challenge. And that challenge is you get a feedback of every little hole or every little imperfection on the road. I think you feel it in the cabin, so it makes this car feel a little bit uncomfortable with the driving suspension. And talking about suspension, this particular one doesn't come with adaptive suspension where you can switch between soft, hard, just makes this car a bit comfortable. So everything that you will hit on the road, definitely because of the bigger size wheels, you will always feel that feedback inside the cabin. Some few rattles here and there, but that is normal with VWs. It's not something surprising. But now, talking about suspension, if you got this car with adaptive suspension, a suspension that you can tune to comfort, you can tune to sport, I think it will really do a lot in terms of just remedying that issue around the driving feel around the suspension. So if you can get these with adaptive suspension, perfect. Uko chonjo. The cabin noise, I don't know. Let me just put down the windows. You can hear that. Can capture that quite clearly. Putting up the windows, it's not like it's the best, but it's somewhere there. It's not the best because I can hear the tires, I can hear the contact of the tires on the road. So it's not the best in its class in comparison to the BMW again 4 Grand Coupe and the Audi A5 Sportback. I must confess that those 2 other cars make better soundproofing. This one, eco, it makes the work done, but you'll slightly hear those imperfections. And this being a family car, of course, something that is very important is safety. So this car is rated at 5-star according to the NCAP Euro ratings on safety. 5-star, perfect for family. But away from that, there are few, conventional driving safety features like lane departure assist. And one thing that is special again on this car is something I don't know, can I say they've borrowed it from Mercedes-Benz? Most cars have it now, where if it senses the driver has lost contact with the car, that means the steering wheel, or you're not touching on the throttle, basically you've lost concentration, maybe it assumes maybe you're sleeping, this car will slowly slow down like it's doing now, slow down, and then it will put on the hazard, and then it will come to a complete stop. Let me see if it can do it. I'm touching nothing. Let me see. There it goes. And stop. That is quite epic, especially if you're a guy who believes in safety. And when it comes to handling, this car quite handles well. It's an R-Line, of course, so it has been tuned to take these corners quite nice. Right now I'm doing around 90 and I'm taking a corner. Look at that. But hold up. If you compare the handling in this car and that one in the Audi A5 Sportback and maybe the BMW Grand Coupe, I'll tell you for a fact the two will handle better. Of course, I'm having McPherson strut at the front and independent Martlink suspension at the rear. But those two, the ones I've mentioned, you have double wishbone at the front, so it makes them handle quite better. And a sophisticated Martlink system at the rear, especially for the Audi A5 Sportback. So take it from me, this one will handle epic. If you come from these other, Madogodanio, this car is quite a performer and a stellar driver's car. But if you compare between these and those two, take it from me, those two will give you the oomph of what it means to handle and just take corners. So without further ado, I think there are a few driving options that I'll tell you about this car, because I'm gotten to a point where I need to confirm. VW claims that this car with this particular engine, because this is the most powerful engine on this model of this particular car, that is from 2017 all the way to 2020, and VW claims that this car is able to do 0 to 100 in 5.6 seconds, because being an all-wheel drive, I'm assuming is capable of doing that because the grip is quite superb. So without wasting time, I want to take a stop. I want to connect my draggy thing on. Then we are going to do our pull and see, does what VW claim to be true as the actual reality of what this car can do. So I'm going to put this car in the most powerful, on the most sportiest driving mode, because here you have eco, you have comfort, you have normal, you have sport, and you have custom. In Audi, I think they call it individual, so you can customize and adjust whatever you want best with, what you like. But here, let me see, everything else is perfect. So I'm going to put it on sport, tunes the engine to perform better, the throttle becomes a bit responsive, the steering firms up, and then I'm also going to put the gearbox in the most sporty mode. So if you are in drive, and you press it just one more down, it activates the S1. Now we are in S1 and ready to launch this car into oblivion. So at this moment, let me allow Mbugo to do his magic. Just enjoy the catalyst of this car launching before I take off. And stop. Oh man, stopping was so tough, it activated the hazard. So now, what the? Okay, 0 to 100, 7 seconds flat. 100 to 0, that is stopping, 3.93. Remember last time I was here, I did the BMW 5 Series, the 530i, and we scored better numbers. I think, no, it was slower. I don't know, I'm not sure about the 0 to 100, but it was around to 6 point something. I think it was faster. The stopping was 3.55. I don't know, I'm curious. I need to do this again. I feel I need to launch it better and see what happens. So take 2. And stop. Let's see if we have better numbers. Okay, 0 to 100, 6.95 seconds. 100 to 0, it has become bad. It is 4.45 seconds. I think I'll go with the first. So for 100 to 0, I'll go with 3.95, and 0 to 100, I'll go with 6.95 seconds. Considering I'm carrying some luggage, and this car is a bit older, it's not new, I'll give it to this car. I think 6.95 from 5.6 seconds is decent enough. I think the variation, the only model of cars that we've experienced that have the least amount of deviation from what the manufacturer claims is Toyota. So when we do Toyota, mostly we always get a point something difference, maybe 1 second. But these other European cars, you always have 2, sometimes even 3 second difference in what is claimed by the manufacturer. But again, the manufacturer in this case, you never know. Maybe walikuwa wanafanya rolling 0 to 100, you never know. So 6.95, let's go out and do value for money and see, does this car meet the optimum value for money?
Feel nothing at all, the pain and the chill. Said I'm cold in the water.
Let's talk about value for money. So how much are you going to pay if you are to buy this particular car from UNGARAGED? This car will set you back around 4.55 million Kenya shillings. But ultimately, any VW Arteon in this market will set you anything between 4.3 all the way to 4.7 million Kenya shillings. Again, it comes down to the quality, the mileage, the grade, the options. Like this one is an R-Line, the most powerful engine that you'll get in the Golf R. It has a sunroof as well. What other car are you going to buy for 4.5 million Kenya shillings? Number 1 is the Audi A5 Sportback. If you haven't watched the review of the Audi A5 Sportback, Mr. Mbugo is going to link you up here. There's a link here. Click on it and just watch how beautiful and awesome that car is. The only place where the Audi A5 Sportback wins hugely is 1, the interior, and 2, the suspension and drive quality. But in terms of looks and value for money, I think this particular car wins a lot in that. The other car that you'll buy is the BMW 4 Grand Coupe. That one is the one that is the cheapest in the lineup. That will set you back anything between 3.8 to 4.2 million Kenya shillings. Again, umeuziwa woga, but I'll always try to give BMW a shot and see what it has to offer. Of course, between these, the BMW Grand Coupe and the Audi A5 Sportback. The BMW Grand Coupe and the Audi A5 Sportback drive extensively beautiful and awesome. They are the ultimate driver's car. This one will come in second because, again, underneath it is a VW Passat. I'm not saying that VW Passats don't drive good, but you cannot match the drive quality to the 2 cars I've mentioned. Let's veer off a little bit and talk about a controversial car. So the other car that you'll buy with 4.5 million Kenya shillings is the Mercedes-Benz W205 C-Class. Specifically, to match power to power, I think I'll do the C300 because that is the one that has almost the same power figures close to the E888. The C250 is underpowered. So if the choice was to buy a Mercedes-Benz W205, I don't know. I think in terms of looks, I'll all give them a score. They look beautiful, they look awesome. But where the VW Arteon wins over the Mercedes-Benz W205 C-Class is the cabin space. I think this car is more roomier, it's more bigger in terms of how it accommodates people and for a family, because the C-Class is quite compact, especially on the second row. If you're sitting on the second row seats, it's quite compact and just squashed in. But this particular one, it gives you the power of having a roomier second row seat and a very humongous and practical trunk space. Of course, that has been all I have prepared for you with Mr. Mbugo behind the camera and the guy editing this video for this exciting episode of Kanisa. There are serious and beautiful episodes of Kanisa coming on from next Sunday. And after watching this video, make sure you still put your notifications on, because jioni leo we are dropping episode 2 of the Mercedes-Benz W211 restoration, courtesy of AMG Performance Garage. If you're not buying parts from AMG Performance Garage, if you're not taking your VW, this particular one, your Audi, your all cars that you're buying from Germany to AMG Performance Garage, kwani muna fix magari wapi? Because that's where you get value for money. You pay your parts quite well and you get awesome and stable service as well. See you in the evening and bye bye. I've been your host Ibrahim Toloi, or you can choose to call me Papa Skofu. Until next time, bye bye.
Overload, my mind never knows quite where to go, yeah. And I feel so unknown, misunderstood, alone, miles away from coast, but no one knows yet.